It's a lifestyle. It's not a trend. It's not a fad. It's not a shape that you need to fit into. I think with social media, it's made to look in a certain way, and especially with women, you know, I don't identify myself as a businesswoman. I'm just Alice, and I'm doing my thing, and so don't try and fit into something that you're not, because then your intentions will change. Your purpose of the why that you form your decisions around will start to be altered further from something that you envisioned. And when that starts to happen, you lose your want and your intent to create something amazing, because it'll feel more like this job that you have to do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle. Hey guys, before we get started today, we just want to take a quick moment to thank one of our sponsors, TraffTrack. If your traffic control, construction, or security crews are still juggling manual check-ins, scheduling, and resource deployment, you're leaving productivity on the table. TraffTrack's app automates shift assignments and timesheets in seconds. Visit trafftrack.com to see why over 1,000 industry professionals rely on it every day. And thanks again to TraffTrack for supporting The Business Game. Hi, welcome to The Business Game. Before we start today, make sure you have subscribed and make sure you throw a like and a comment on this video as you watch. My name's Jazmyn.
And I'm Dan.
And we are joined in studio today by a very special guest with a very inspiring story, Miss Alice Ruddell. Welcome, Alice.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us all the way from up north.
Yeah, Mackay. So it's a decent trek down this way, but I love coming down to, especially the Sunshine Coast. It is gorgeous.
It is, especially this time of year.
We have some beautiful islands and reefs up there, but we don't have the surf. So that's one thing that I love when I come down here is just the beach and the surf.
Yeah, gorgeous. Nice. So Alice, can you give our audience a little brief intro on who you are and what you do?
Of course. So I'm a physiotherapist. I've been out of uni now for about 7 to 8 years, I think. And I've been working as a physiotherapist for a number of years before I started my first business. It's called A Rehab Diary. So it's a healthcare app. And I was working on that for a little bit whilst working full-time for another company. I just really wanted to build that clinical experience working with other mentors and experienced senior physios around me. So I started that one, continued to work in that avenue for a number of years before moving to Brisbane. So that's something very different for me, being from a small town, being from Early Beach. And I worked in Brisbane sort of at a sport athlete-based clinic. And that didn't go to plan, not in a bad way, it just didn't happen the way that it should. And it sort of left me with a decision as to what to do next. And that's when I quickly decided, well, there's no time like now to start my own thing. So within 2 weeks, I started a clinic and moved back to Mackay and hit the ground running. And from there, I started my second business, which was Empower Health and Physiotherapy, which is a physio clinic that's based up north. So
gorgeous.
That's a little bit about me.
It's always those moments of tension and letting things go where the good stuff happens.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's when I look at all the big decisions that I've made, whether you say unfortunately or not, they've never just happened because it's been a nice choice and it's led me in that path. It's kind of, it gets to this, oh crap moment, what do I do? And I've got to quickly make that decision and reason and then, it sort of pushes me into that next thing, but it's all in the direction that I want to go. I think it's just this little external force that kicks you in the butt from behind when you least expect it. So, it definitely challenges your ability to pivot and make things work when you maybe might not have planned it for another year or two. So,
yeah. Absolutely. So in your personal journey into the physiotherapy space and launching your own app and your own clinic, you talk a lot about the connection between mental and physical health. Can you talk us through where that stemmed from for you? Is there a personal story behind that?
Yeah, definitely. So when I started A Rehab Diary, which is my healthcare app, and it's an app that helps people track and log their rehab through their phone, and it focuses on the mental side of a physical injury, because I found that when you look at the body, you can't separate the mind and the body, no matter how hard you try. And when we look at pain and what influences pain and the difference between every single one of our clients isn't the condition, it's the person. It's their viewpoints, it's their mind, it's their upbringing, it's their mindset, it's their ideologies, their background. There's so much involved with that person. So to enable me to provide care at a level that I felt the person was achieving 100%, wasn't just reaching a physical milestone, but also a mental milestone that allowed them to be the most physically and mentally strongest version of themselves after going through a time of adversity. And there was a few reasons as to why I think everything came together. And the first two are sort of little reasons which channeled my mind in that direction. And then the last one was my main, I guess, drive, purpose, realization, which is very personal to me. The first two are I just had a lot of clients at the time that they understood that they had a long recovery. They knew that it was going to take time. They knew that they had to progress through this journey. But when it got to about halfway, they never knew how they were coping. They never knew if they were progressing, everything got a little bit grey. And it didn't matter who they were. I think when it comes to, the mental health side of things, we immediately think people who have a history of mental health or have current mental health illnesses, we think those are the people that struggle the most. And it's not the case. It's, you take the most mentally well, in quotations, normal, even though there's no normal, but normal person, they have families and they keep themselves active and healthy. They're not used to being sick. They're not used to being told, no, you can't do your favorite thing. They're not used to not being able to go and run their business correctly. So they struggle so much more. There's just this expectation that they shouldn't. So I found that by simply drawing a graph from start to where they were and then visually seeing their improvement, it's just a switch moment. It's really simple. And that's all they needed to kind of go, right, I am on the right track. Let's keep going. So that was one of the reasons. The second reason was I had a patient at the time. She was a beautiful woman. She only ever took to me, which was lovely. It was a lot of work. I learned to lift really well, that's for sure. She was completely bedbound. So we used to stand together, but that was about it, in a sense of getting out of bed. So yeah, I learned to lift really well. But she was just such a beautiful soul who was always treated quite terribly in different systems. And every time I would go to her house, she couldn't do much. She had a spinal tumor and she also had cancer and she also had another neurological condition. Oh, really, really awful. But she could be on her iPad and she could shop like an absolute boss, this woman. And I was like, you can't do much, but you can use technology. So I think those two things together definitely put my brain in a position to, I guess, be on the path to looking for a solution, I guess, in that aspect. But it wasn't until the third aspect that tied it all in together. And that was at the time I was in a very, I can look back on it now. I think at the time it's all very blurry and you don't know. I think when you're looking at it from this angle, looking back sort of 5 years ago, you kind of, you can see it quite clearly. But at the time, you don't know what's next. You don't know what tomorrow holds. And I was at a time in my life where I'd been in a long-term, 2 years or so relationship. And we had just moved into a house together. And that lasted about 3 weeks. There were a few little signs initially beforehand, but he ended up getting violent with me and it turned into a domestic violence. And being in that environment and being deconditioned over a period of a year, you never jump into it full throttle when with a person like that. It always is that little bit by little bit. And I always describe it as, I don't know if you know that analogy of the frog in water.
Yeah.
So put a frog in hot water and it'll jump straight out. but put a frog in cold water and and you slowly warm the water and it'll boil to death. So, and it couldn't be more relevant in that case because it's a very complicated environment. And it's also your environment that you call home. So when you think of home, you think of safety, you think of privacy, you think of, it's an intimate space, it's comfortability, it's all those things that you rely on for your ability to just feel safe and at home. But that's the space in which everything happens. So it's not public. And I think too, depending on the type of person you are and your external, the external environment around you, you don't say anything because it's not something that you voice publicly to everybody and be proud of. You can be proud of how you've handled things and you do the best you can with what you have at the time. But when I realized the situation that I was in, it got to a pivot point right at the tip where I managed to have my dog. I had my bed shirt on and my dog, and we managed to run away. It was kind of like an escape situation. It was terrible. But I guess with that, it's also important to say that, everyone's perception of a domestic violence is so different, and I've grown up in an amazing household with beautiful family and wonderful parents, and they have a wonderful relationship. And to me, it only happened in movies. And, the person that you've been sleeping next to for the past number of years, you never think that you'd have to do that, run away from that person. But once I managed to, get out that night, that was it. Never went back. I thought, at the time, it was not my fault that I was in that position, but it was my responsibility as soon as I got out to take control of my next actions. And I think that's one thing that when we look at domestic violence, it's not about, being in that position. It's not your fault, but there is that aspect of when and if you do get the ability to get out, and I did, I was lucky, I had the ability to leave. If I went back, unfortunately, that was my decision and I didn't. And I think that's where that ability to take responsibility and progress from there has really helped me in my businesses. Mm-hmm. So from that last sort of 3 weeks of that situation, working on a rehab diary and starting to develop that business and starting to build the prototype was my safe space, because home wasn't a safe space anymore. But at my computer, working on my goal and my dream and my passion to help create this business and this tool that I know would help so many people, it took away from what was going on. That was the even though it was my reality, it wasn't my reality, because I'd never been exposed to that before. And again, you think that would be the worst it could be until it's not. So it took me away from that reality for a while. And so I really just focused on that until that moment that I left. And after I left, it was interesting. I felt amazing. I felt so good. I felt so light. I felt so, it's hard to explain. And then 3 weeks later, I went to my doctor and I sat down to my GP and I was like, I don't know if I'm messed up. This just happened. I don't know if it's messed me up. And we laughed, and she just said, look, let's be proactive. Let's not let it. We can control that. You're out now. We can control that. And I thought, it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to be what comes to mind when people think that they've been in that environment. I don't need to have any weight of this part of my life. I can actually use it to help me build this next chapter of my life. So I spent the next year processing it all. But about 3 weeks later, after I left, my body just went crash. I just had chronic fatigue because I'd been on adrenaline for 6, 8, 12 months. And my body I'm normally a morning person. My alarm goes and I'm up. I'm ready to go. I'm crashing by the end of the day, but I'm a morning person. I could not get out of bed. I would have to set about 7 alarms. I remember sometimes some of the alarms that I would set would be set to keep going. So if I went home and visited my family and my alarm went off, it would keep going. They'd like, turn this alarm off. Because I had so many, because I couldn't get out of bed. Being a very fit and active person too, you know, I've always kept myself as healthy as I possibly can, and, you know, take care of myself from a physical point of view. But it was at that point that I realized how much like the mental toll that it took on me, even without me noticeably feeling that emotion. So how my body, how my subconscious needed to recover, even though I'd probably felt in my immediate conscious the best I felt in a long time. And I started, you know, I was getting sick every 3 weeks. I kept working, I kept going, but it was a struggle with work, because when you go to work and you work as a physio, you give everybody 100% every half an hour for, you know, 12 hours a day. And so it's draining. So that's when I reached to starting to journal. And journaling allowed me, just like showing my clients that visual, it allowed me to understand my symptoms. It allowed me to understand how my body was reacting to the way that I was. It allowed me to understand why I even got in that position in the first place. Why I was that perfect puzzle piece that fitted with that awful person that caused this situation as well. And then it allowed me to ask some really hard questions to myself in a way that was very productive and proactive. And it was through that experience that my body started improving over time. Again, there are going to be hard days, in a sense of it doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you write one journal entry and suddenly you're fine. It doesn't work like that. It's a continuous improvement. But in my head, I'm also a very stubborn person, but all of us Ruddell girls are. But in my head, it was, I either get better or I don't. And it wasn't a question to me. I had to get better. And working on a rehab diary, then it became very personal, in a sense of I had this personal experience with it. I knew what it could do when you understand yourself so deeply, because then you can maximize that and you become a lot more resilient. And it's not about becoming, you're not weak or you're strong, you're resilient.
Absolutely.
And in ways that is then transferable into different parts of your life, you know, not just a lot of what I learned in that experience with the domestic violence, I took into my business. It allowed me to, when I was, talking with people, know that what you see sometimes can be, or the behavior that somebody is presenting with regards to their speaking is usually a form of communication. And it just allowed me to see people in a way that I hadn't been able to resonate with my clients, because I purely had never had that awareness. So it allowed me to start understanding my clients a lot better. It allowed me to start providing a space that made me realize so many people aren't okay, but they don't have any tools to know what to do unless they're mentally ill. We know that if someone's mentally ill, you go to your doctor, and your doctor might send you to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you get medicated. And it's just this very rigid and kind of scary process. And it doesn't need to get to that point. And so I realized that providing a space and normalizing that space, talking about it in a way that is very proactive, not in a way that's just, we all sit there and cry, in a way that's someone feels seen, heard, celebrated, and then they have a next step. That was something that when a client is well, in a sense of physically, mentally managing their health, they get bored, which is great, because then they do the things that they want to do. They start building businesses, they start traveling, they start, doing things with their partner. That is health to me, when somebody is living that life that they want, not just because their symptoms have gone away.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I think understanding how, when you understand your mind, because your mind is, like I said, it's inseparable to your body, and they're both so important and they both work together. But our body changes and adapts to things without you being consciously aware of it. So knowing that, know that it can also be something that you've got to then pay attention to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a journey in that sense, but it has allowed me so many, or I guess it's instilled in me so many skills that I have taken into business in many different ways. A lot of things that people find, it's not that you don't find it difficult, but you don't get scared of things as easy. Building relationships with people, because it's about understanding the person. You never, I find that I never categorize people. I don't think that somebody is this kind of person or this kind of person. It's you, just like it's me, just like it's my next client, because you understand the person and their values. And not only that too, I think one big thing that's been this might sound a little bit odd, but a really helpful tip that's helped me through is all this experience that I've had. And there have been a few, to be honest, that's just one thing that I've sort of been through. I've had a run of very unlucky things, but like I said, builds resilience. But it's all things. One thing that I've always told myself, and it really, really helps, is that this is the knowledge that I can give my future daughter one day. These are the situations I can prevent or help through my future family one day, my nieces, my nephews, my grandkids. Like, it's knowing that you do it over, and it makes it so much easier.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, that's where it really, I guess, the whole concept of a rehab diary to me is just, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know that that's what's missing in healthcare with what I see every single day.
And not just in healthcare. I mean, we interview a lot of CEOs and founders on the show, and we ask them what kind of tools they use in their business. And I can say that journaling has probably never been one of them, but it's so important, because I think, you're speaking about your patients who are usually high-performing people, or at least not super dysfunctional, where they sort of be accessing the mental health system. But when we relate that back to business owners as well, these like soft skills or like tools that you wouldn't necessarily think of as improving and super scaling your business, like journaling, like, being really conscious of your mental health and treating that as part of your toolkit. Things like journaling, so important to like keep people at the front of their game.
It's just understanding how your mind works. It's incredible. And you'll never not want to continue to learn and develop, because there are a million ways to do things. So it's finding out the key that works for your little lock. The thing that when you hear something and it makes sense, it makes your body go, oh, that I understand that now. I can progress forward with that. It's like what I said about one big thing that really helps me is that, knowing what I've been through, or any hard experience that I've been dealt, any cards I've been dealt. Mum said that Grandma used to say that they deal hard cards to the people that can handle it. And I'm like, Jesus, thanks, Grandma. You sure? No, but it's finding that thing that tool that allows you to resort back to your baseline quicker than normal. Whereas when you don't have that tool, you spiral, and then spiraling turns into bad behaviors. Bad behaviors turned into learned behavior patterns. And when you have that tool that allows you to not go down that path, or I had a doctor on behavioral therapy on my podcast the other day, and she talks about going down the well. And it's to when you've got that tool that stops you from going all the way down the well, you don't need to climb up as far. And that tool, one of those tools for me, yes, journaling gives me the ability to learn so much, but that's where you learn the tools that when you are starting to go down that well, those are the things that pop into your mind. Because I think when we're struggling with something, we don't go, oh, right, what's in my toolbox? Let me see what I can get. Like, it's how it's made out to be. It doesn't work like that. When you're in that time of your life where you're triggered or you're emotional and your body's trying to protect you from something, you don't just click and switch and suddenly you're fine. It's your brain's ability and the way in which you have trained your brain to be wired for it to then remind you of that tool quicker than it would before. And that's where it's about not going down that path, what's the cost of that path, saving all that time and using that to actually progress forward. So I find that when it comes to journaling, it's not just a tool that is beneficial for those who are struggling. One thing the thing that I find I struggle with is that when things are going bad, I journal more than when things are going good. But when things are going good, that's when you need to also be journaling, because you're celebrating your success. You're you're still building those positive behaviors and you're making those connections in your brain around those moments. So it's a tool in which when you look at, and especially business owners, and I know with me, you can't stop your brain. You won't stop your brain if you're that kind of person, but you've also got to understand those things and put them in their place and prioritize and all those sorts of things. So it's a very good tool to get your body physically doing what your brain is trying to sift through. So, yeah.
Amazing. I guess through your experiences, you've seen challenges that clients are having and you identified a potential solution or tool. What was your next step? What was the first step you took to go, right out, I'm going to do an app? Did you speak to your supporting network or did you go straight to an app developer and say, yep, I want to do this? Or...
No, I sat in my room with my computer and I made a prototype. So what I did was
You did it yourself, the app itself? Or...
the prototype of the app.
Yeah.
I eventually took it to a developer.
Mm-hmm.
But initially, that was that sort of, when I was mentioning before about that safe space, that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I would go to the gym and walk on the treadmill and watch YouTube on how to create an app. And that's what I did for Alice.
Wow.
And I would learn how, different programs. And this was before AI was a thing too. So it wasn't like you could ask AI.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah. And it's not like, I look at things now, like I was playing around with this app the other day. You can just tell it to build it and it builds it. And I'm like, me on the treadmill with my YouTube going, okay. And then going and trying this program. And so, and keep in mind, my tech skills, no, they don't exist.
Yeah.
But you try different things and you work your way through. And I built sort of like a prototype of what I wanted. Mm-hmm. I started off by literally taking a piece of paper, and I still have the old book, and it's the old, the circle with the lines out, and you write down that was what I wanted a rehab diary to stand for, what I wanted it to be. What was my vision? I wrote that down on a piece of paper. And from there, I started thinking about mind maps, and this could lead to this, and asking people. One thing that they talk about at the start is, do you tell people your idea? Do you not? Of course you do. Yeah. If you have this idea that you never tell anybody about,
help yourself.
Yeah. Oh well, yeah, I'm terrible with that too. But it's also, you need to see if there's a need for it. And talking to so many people, and I think the luxury of my job is that I see a lot of people all day, every day. It's exhausting, but it's a luxury. I never got someone saying, oh no, that's a bad idea, let's not do that. Everyone was it was like you saw their eyes sort of go, yeah, like that makes a lot of sense.
How about your peers? How about allied health professionals? What'd they say?
I didn't really talk to them. So I have obviously a few friends who are physios, and I spoke to them. But it was more so I explored the market than I did other physios. I think because when it comes to physio and the mental side, at uni, when you're out, we're taught, psychologically, everybody has, psychologically pain is, it's a massive influence on our psychological system, and our psychological massively influences pain, and it's basically the be all and end all when it comes to pain. And even though pain is everything that we do, but we're not going to touch it, and let's just focus on range of motion and strength. And so it's like this topic that is there, and, just refer on and it's not encouraged to, I'm not going to say they don't tell us to talk about it, but it's not encouraged in the sense that they don't give us tools of how to manage it. And so talking to other allied health professionals around me, I'd spoken to a few nurses in the hospital, which was good, but Mackay's also a small place too. So, and I think you do know everyone, where their viewpoints would be. And the ones I spoke to were definitely like, yeah, I mean, it's a great idea because we don't dabble into that space. But it was also you sure you want to do that, in a sense of, that's a big step and apps are big and this and that. And my brain was like, I can do it, I'll be fine. Like, I'll take on everything. But I would say I probably focused a little bit more so on talking to just clients about it, because at the time, that was my initial target market point. I hadn't really considered the business side of things or the business to business model at that point. So, and I
So
guess
at that point, it
yeah.
was just about creating a tool, an app to use with your own patients.
essentially, yeah.
Yeah. But what did your employers say? Were they supportive or?
Initially, yes,
Mhm.
until it was kind of like it's like dangling a carrot in front of a rabbit, and sort of explained that oh, let's implement it in the hospital and let's do this and how's it going? What are you working on at the moment? Excited Alice was, I'm doing this and we're creating this. It's going to have this tool and this and this and this. And then one morning we sat down. There was a meeting, and we sat down in this meeting, and it was a telehealth meeting, and it was everything that I told him for the past year, taken, reinvested into a company with lots of money,
Absolutely
and
not.
made me sit there and watch it.
Wow.
And I got up, and I'm not at that point too, I'm not I'm not an angry confrontational person.
yeah,
I'm not the kind of person to kick and scream and have
Go away and to dwell on a little
That's
bit.
it.
Yeah.
I did. Well, I kind of slammed the door a little bit, but I got up, didn't say anything halfway through, and yes, a person was, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Yep," and walked out. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah, that was my first experience of sort of being done over in business.
Okay.
It's not the first. It happens. That's been one of the hardest things with a healthcare professional in business is trusting tech
Yeah.
companies, trusting other people in that sense, because I'm not the person I don't have that, oh, I don't trust you. You have to earn my trust. I'm the person where I'm like, hi, I trust you. And then do me over. Okay, now I don't trust you. Maybe no, I don't. So that's, yeah, I'm just, as hard as I try and work on that, I fall for what I want to hear. So yeah, look, my track record's been for itself, but it does build experience, and I would much rather that happen when I'm at that stage. I'm insignificant in a sense of my business. My business is small, rather than at a point where I've got a lot more involvement in that industry. So I then I remember I went home, and no, that afternoon I was meant to fly out to Brisbane, and I was going to do a pitch to take my app to the Mater Hospital in Brisbane. And when I say that, I don't mean I had this meeting with the CEO. I walked through the front door with my briefcase as a 22-year-old or 23-year-old. And I was like, I want to speak to somebody about pitching my app. And yeah, that didn't go very well. The lady at the front desk, she was like, oh, I don't really know about that. And then gave me a card with a name and number and email. And I tried calling and emailing, and no one ever got back to me. But so I got home, and I threw myself a 5-minute pity party, and I wrote the worst horrible things on my whiteboard about my experience from the whole work situation with Save Us and that sort of stuff. And then I wiped it out, and I thought, no, this is my sort of go-to. And it might sound really basic and simple, but at the end of the day, you can overcomplicate it as much as you want. And that is, I either stop or I go. I'm not stopping, so I'm just going to go. And I wrote down, right, what are the things that I stand for? What are those things that I put on my piece of paper about A Rehab Diary the first time? What are what's my goal? Like, think of those people that you've seen it make an impact on in your clinic and go from there. So picked myself up and kept going from there. And
at that point, was the prototype working?
So with the prototype, so I built it to a point where it was something that I knew it was all I was able to do. I'm not going to say that I built it to a point where, I started using it in this. No, I didn't have those tech skills. So again, similar situation to that Mater. I walked into I called a few actually different companies, different app companies, Sydney and Melbourne. And with that, there was this first company, and I just didn't really like it. And then there was the second company, and he said, look, I'm going to be really honest with you. He said, there's a lot of these companies that are going to, he said that I want you to be careful of, in a sense of just do your research. He said, continue to explore the market as well. But he said, this idea is something very special. And he said, the reason that it's very special is because it's not just an app that people, play and dispose of. He said, the value is within the need of the person. And I wrote that down. I said, the value is within the need of the person. And he said, for that reason, this is a really special idea. But he said, I want you to keep working he said, find the right company that's going to keep helping you with that, because I was still a little bit unsure as to what was involved. And it was kind of like, at that point, I knew the direction I had to go and go to a developer, but I didn't know if I wanted to jump all in.
Hey guys, just wanted to do a quick shout out to our affiliate partner, OpusClip. If you need great video edits without hiring an editor, their AI engine turns your raw clips into share-ready content in under a minute, no skill required. Find our link in the description to support our show and get a great sign-up bonus. Create more, stress less with OpusClip.
And one thing that I also learned from, I guess, my dad growing up is I always used to see when Dad would have his meetings, he would be in a boardroom with everybody and he would know everybody. He would talk to everybody, he would meet them. So I wanted to go into a boardroom and meet the people that were going to help build this business with me, just like Dad used to do. And so again, I actually had one of my clients recommend a company in town, and I went in off the street.
In Mackay?
Yeah. With my little briefcase again. And I was like, I want to talk to somebody about making an app. And they're like, I think it was because I was maybe young. And they just go, okay. And then we sat in the boardroom and I was like, sweet, I'm doing step one already. We sat in the boardroom and I put my my prototype up and walked them all through it. And yeah, they thought it was a great idea. And we started coming up with different ideas and forming the next prototype, or the official next prototype. And that process went for a good year of figuring out how that would look. And I had a number of different people give ideas in a sense of, some of the footy boys to then my 60-year-old Judy in the hydrotherapy pool, to the pre-operative, to the post-operative, to my neurological clients. That's the beauty of Mackay, it's so diverse. It's also rural. So I had people who from out of town, I could get their input and research around that. So
at this point, How much money have you invested? And how much more did you have to invest to get it professionally developed?
The profession, so what I had done myself was obviously just my time.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you're a physio, your time is money.
For sure.
Your time is money. And that's what, it's my most valuable currency now is time, because it's the one thing that we all have, whether you're the richest person in the world or the poorest person in the world, is we all have time. And if it's just something that I find very valuable. So initially it was all myself in a sense of time. When I started with this company, it was kind of done in sprints. So it was over periods of time. And because I had already done a good chunk of it, they said, the more that you've done, the less that we obviously have to do. And I'd already come up with the name and the brand and they just made things look a little bit prettier, but I'd already come up with a whole lot as well. And my goal was, and this might sound a little bit odd, but I didn't want to build it to 100%, because 100% mean it wasn't able to be, I guess, guided in different directions depending on
Continues
healthcare.
to develop into.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you look at healthcare and technology, my goal was to be at the forefront of that, because we are not in healthcare at all technology. We don't utilize technology. We will sit there and we will say we are overworked and we can't take on all this work and all this mental load from clients and this and that, but we're still giving out pieces of paper with exercises on them. So it was over the past, I would say, definitely since COVID, things have changed, but I also wanted to be at the forefront of technology in healthcare to then go into different, pivot in ways that I was able to do without building this huge thing, dropping all this money on it, because it was something that I did myself in a sense of self-funded. So every client I treated, I wasn't one of those, teenagers that would go, spending her money on holidays or clothes or this or that. It was all into my app. I treat clients into my app. You would always try, with grants, but you'd only ever get maybe education. You never get the good stuff. But yeah, it was just, to me, it was, if this was something I wanted, then I had to work for it. That was how we were raised. If this was what we wanted, we had to work for it.
And I guess
So,
the app developer also worked with you to,
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that with that, definitely, yeah. So we kind of did it in sprints where we'd work on this, they'd give you the quote, work on this. But the thing is, you don't really know what normal is. And what your, I guess the quote, the way they talk about it with you, it sounds really great. And then they go behind the scenes and do whatever they want, which you don't really know. And this is the hard part, is they'll tell you all this stuff that they're doing. And here's the quote, and you go through with that because it looks.
do you fall on the floor first and go, oh my goodness, how much it's
Yes,
how expensive?
yeah. I go, man, that's a lot of backs that I got to treat. But okay. But yeah, you just being done in sprints too. It was obviously manageable, and like I said, I never, credit to my parents. We grew up. We learned really good work ethic growing up. So I've never, if I wanted something, I have no issues working towards it. But or making those sacrifices. But yeah, when that, I guess what you would expect with that is the promise to be delivered on what the outcome would be. So I guess where I'm going to with that is when I say recently, this would have been end of last year, beginning of this year, I shifted away from that company after starting working with a new marketing company they're just incredible. Jared and Pete and Paris and all the guys at Fractal, they've been amazing.
Past guests of ours as well.
Yeah, honestly, just incredible people that take the time to understand a situation and help because they care about you, not because the intention is to work as a team. I think a lot of people can sometimes say that they, we care about your business and whatnot. Well, they're going to care about theirs before they care about yours. So you never know someone's situation. But the beauty about Fractal is that it's about working as a team and supporting each other. And if you work as a team, that goes back and forth. You pivot and you work together. And they realized through my lack of awareness around what was going on in the back end of the app, the situation that had arose, and they helped me navigate that to a point now where it's kind of like we've revved it up and now we're going up and we're going to go even further. So but it takes a lot to a lot of people will never admit that there were things that they didn't know or they got done over or they didn't understand this aspect or going into tech. Why would you go into tech when you don't know tech? And you go, well, you look at doctors' clinics. Majority of those guys that own them aren't doctors. So they wouldn't know a thing about clients.
Sure.
So with starting and creating something, one thing I've always loved is building a team and working with people and creating something. I come from a family of, my mum's, owns her business. My dad's had a number of businesses. My older sister and her husband have a business. My younger sister's just started her business. My brother works with dad in a sense of have their business. So to me, that's normal. And I love it. I love that when there's work to be done and it's me that's created it and I can control it and I can work on it and build this thing. But then when there's play, there's play. So I love the lifestyle that brings because I'm just not naturally someone that can just go to work, go home and not think about the next thing.
Yeah.
So I like to utilize that as much as I can. But it's just like, I guess what my domestic violence and coming to terms with that taught me is that it's not, even though at the time it feels embarrassing, it's not embarrassing that you were in that. It's amazing to see what's come after. And same with the app. It was, when I got done over in that sense, I'm like, how did I, what was developed versus what I paid and what it was developed were just sort of did not align up. And that's so much of my 20s hard work.
You identified what was going on before it got too bad.
Yeah, well, with the help of Fractal, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it's that, but sometimes I think then you almost have, it's like that, it's that pivotal point, like I said before, about I'm someone that will just trust the next person. And so when Fractal came along, I was like, I'm trusting you, but should I? But I do, but should I? But never once have I ever questioned that, but they're just incredible people. But that's where I think it starts to pull you in different directions. Because I started working with another developer and I picked up the signs of things earlier.
Can you give us those signs that, like, specifically what you would say to someone who's walking into developing an app for the first time? What should they be looking out for?
In terms of like, so I'm going to use the phrase love bombing, even though that's usually for relationships. But when somebody doesn't really know you or your business, in a sense of they don't know what you're about. They know you're an app and they know you're in healthcare, but they don't actually know the purpose behind it. And they tell you how amazing you are and, oh, look, and this, and oh, you've been done over so bad. Oh, I can't believe there's people like that out there. And they almost love bomb you with what they can give you. Is always a red flag.
That's just salespeople, isn't it?
Yeah, in my experience, having a very when someone is very focused on utilizing what you've been through, because there's an emotional attachment to that as a reason to make themselves look better. That's definitely something. So the good thing with Fractal was they listened to it, they understood it, they empathized and was like, yeah, it happens. Unfortunately, it happens, but this is where we can move forward. This is how we work around this. It wasn't this is how we're going to tell you what you want to hear. It was, this is how we work as a company. And it wasn't in a sense of, again, telling me all about the fluffy stuff. It was saying, this is how we work and this is, yeah. And not just that, but following it up with actions. So when I realized what was happening, we realized what was happening, Jared and the team at Fractal was like, we're going to pause marketing. We're going to pause the subscription, like you paying us. We're going to get this sorted for you, get you here, and then start that. And they did all that with me because they wanted me to, when it was that chance where we got the chance to build with them, they wanted to make sure that I was okay. Like they saw what was going to happen in that instinct. And they took the time, they gave me the knowledge, and they did it at their own, loss in a sense, even though I think sometimes I look at a lot of things I've done. You do things that at the time mightn't give you gain, but it gives you tenfold gain long run. So many times it's that instant gratification. And I found that with them, they clearly saw potential in me as a person and what my brand stood for. And they helped me, at no expectation of theirs. And that's where I was like, okay, these are the people that I know is right for me. But yeah, it's hard in tech because you don't know what you don't know. And it changes constantly and it changes in so many different ways. And it's like this world that just doesn't really make sense. And when you start understanding it, it's just it's huge.
It just gets bigger and bigger.
It does, yeah, it does. So, but it's also, that emphasizes the importance of the right people around you in a sense of them not thinking that they have all the answers, but knowing that they can definitely help you find those answers and or try their best to reach for other people. And I think another thing, with Fractal is that they do have some incredible companies that they work with that they then link together with. So I've met some amazing people through them. I mean, I met you guys through them. So they've got a really amazing way of proving their commitment rather than just telling you a bunch of words.
That's awesome. So what's your revenue model for the app? How are you making money on it?
So this is so initially we're actually doing a bit of an upgrade with it at the moment, but my two different revenue models was a B2B and a B2C. So with the business to consumer, it was very much what comes to mind when you think app, download, free trial, and then it's basically an app where you would want it to be downloaded and then it was like using your bank app. It's not fun, but it's going to give you so much value, so much data, and it's got a lot of information there being hosted in that space. That's personal to you. So for that reason, it's not something that there's not all this, I wanted it to be affordable in a sense of this tiny little bit per month that you don't think twice about because you should prioritize your health over that. And it's not an app, like I said, the value is within the need of the person. So it's not an app in which someone wants to use, but they need to use it to allow for that best behavior. So there's that that model with the business to consumer, which is quite standard. And then there was the business to business, which was a healthcare clinic, a gym, a wellness hub can have a subscription to the app. And this is where it's kind of like a phone credit system. They purchase it was about 50. So what it was previously, before we're changing it now, is they would purchase the 50 codes, or think of it like you get credit on your phone of 50. And once you've used it up, you just top it up. And so what that would do is it allowed them to have a code that they would give to their clients for free that gave them free access. So a physio could give it to their clients. And it's also a good incentive for the business to market around their tool and approach to what they're doing for people's mental health. Is yes, we have that physical approach, and we have our exercises are being given through this app or this tool, but for your mental side of things, for the benefit of our clinicians and quality of care, and to fix a lot of the problems that we find do stem up, we've got this tool that we use as well. So that was sort of the business to business model, but we're just making a few little changes, but it's still going to be a very similar sort of run model. Talking with a few different ideas that we're looking into in the future is looking at integrating into different healthcare apps in a sense, or into different businesses. So for example, it would be something like, an app kind of like, let's say Garmin, where you've got the watch, but then there is that component to that app, which would be that physio health related component that we could integrate in, rather than them developing their whole sort of side of that system. So that's just an example. We're not integrating into Garmin, unless Garmin reaches out, of course. But having that approach or pursuing that avenue, that's something we're looking at the moment as well. Making it something that can not only just be a standalone quality brand, but that other brands want to implement because they know it stands for really good behavioral qualities. And you look at health and fitness. Look, this might be a bit controversial, but I think health and fitness is so unhealthy these days. I honestly think it is so unhealthy these days. The way that it's marketed, what someone classifies as healthy is so visual, and because that's what sells. But when you look at health and fitness now, I think it is having a good positive shift in more of that wellness aspect. So, and what you'll find too is a lot of the health and fitness social media influencers are all going to get older and sorer and sicker. So suddenly this stuff's going to be very attractive. But I think having that aspect of knowing that's where wellness is going, it's not just a gym now. A gym has to have a recovery center. A gym has to have, those aspects to it. And physical health, it's much the same now, is that we need that approach mentally. And I think as businesses that realize that and see that, the ones that do, they have the clients that remain loyal in that aspect, because it develops a culture that's of depth.
Yeah.
It develops a lot of people that, like I said, they're not just kicking goals in that space or in that business. They are traveling and they're doing all the things that they want to do.
So sorry, Dan.
No, you're right. Yeah, go for it.
So you'd be within the app collecting data, I suppose, and I'm just wondering, is there any sort of route to using that toward future research that could benefit people who are experiencing rehab?
Potentially. I mean, when you look at the healthcare space and hosting information, and we very much, so it's a very, I'm not going to say hard area, but you do have to be mindful that it is people's data, it is people's health data, and you have to have the right approach to that. And what you'll find is you can kind of create or you can avoid a lot of problems by simply creating it in a way that actually works well in general for what you're trying to achieve. So I guess what I mean by that is a lot of the legal problems that I don't need to worry about is purely because the app is a single user domain, which basically means the only person that can access that is the person. I don't have access from the back end. No one else can hack in from the back end. Your data is secure in the hosting platform. There's not that ability to access in. Now, when you look at that, there are a lot of good things around, your therapist can duck in and have a bit of a look at everything. But to me, sitting at home, I think of Alice, after the domestic violence situation, writing in my journal what I wrote on that whiteboard that day. Like hell, anyone's seeing that. Like, I would not have done that, which meant I wouldn't have led to that next positive step if I thought someone was watching me.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just the reality. If like I am not going to what that book is my book. No one else's book. Don't look at my book. So your journal is your journal because it's not about me, it's about you. I wanted the ability for, obviously from a physiotherapy point of view, I wanted it to be a tool in which also strengthens care as well from a physiotherapy to client point of view. So for that reason, there is the ability to export what you like. So whether that be just the graph, whether that be the graph and the diary, the summarized diary, just the diary. So there's the ability for the person to export to me what they want. And even if it's just the graph, if I haven't seen someone, let's say in 3 weeks because they live out in Moranbah, I know by simply looking at that graph, oh, they're doing fine. Okay, we're sweet. And it takes 2 seconds to go, send me the graph. Let's see how you're going. And the big difference is, when we look at healthcare and I talk about that mental load as therapists and integrating these tools, if we don't have these tools, for me to give that level of care and care about somebody, I would pick up the phone, not to say don't do this, and I still do this with some of my favorites, but you pick up the phone and you go, how you going? How's everything going? And it obviously depends on the person, but they might go, yep, look, sweet, fine, but they're busy and they're actually not going to tell you about what's going on. Or you've got your little old lovely Robin who loves to leave me 5-minute voice messages. Or when she thinks it's not on voice message and you hear her swearing because the phone's not working. But all I'm saying is that things take time and it's all over the shop and just to have that sense of, I'm caring about you here. So when it comes to that, it's my ability to send a text and go, flick me your diary just so I can have a bit of a look when you got a spare chance. Oh, Alice is thinking of me. Awesome. That little thought goes a long way. And you get the graph. Sorry, flick the graph. You get the graph and you go, oh, they're fine. Perfect. Looks like you're going great. Amazing. Call if you need. Let us know if you need anything. You get the graph and you go, the hell happened here? You can find a time and actually, give that time to that person to understand, or, hey, I noticed this. Just let me know if you want to have a chat about it. Or it's something you bring up in your next session. So it just allows for that efficiency, and I'm very big on that. With my clinic, I'm very big on the clinic and the app. Quality, that's my number one, and efficiency. So it's the little things. I think sometimes we overcomplicate it, and sometimes we try and look for big solutions to small problems. Sometimes there's little things go a long way, and especially in healthcare. So yeah, it's using tools like that really make a big difference, I think.
Absolutely.
I have a million questions, but obviously we're running out of time too. So now how about the integration or balancing between the app and Empower?
That doesn't exist. I'm so sleep deprived. I was calling my mum on the phone when I was driving here. I was like, Mum, I'm so tired. That's all I could keep saying is I'm so tired. There's no such thing as balance. You're constantly trying to get to a form of balance that never exists, but it's this bouncing priorities. I will never say I don't have time, whether that's in my professional life, personal life. It's funny, like some people say to me, I don't know, let's say I get asked out for a coffee or something. They'll say, oh, you'd just be too busy. And I go, well, I run my own diary, so I can kind of like do what I want. So no, but I'm not going to waste my time. Mm-hmm. So I never say to someone, oh, I'm too busy. It's not a priority. And when things are a priority, you make it work. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to balancing, really difficult. It's this constant, you never feel you're on top of things, not in a bad way, just you've always got a million things to do. You value, like I said, I value my time so much. And if it's because I don't mean this to sound superficial in a sense of when I say time is money, but it essentially is. My half an hour could be spent doing that, or it could be spent on me. Me time is valuable. That to me is more than that. And you can't work forever. So it's taught me a lot of value in the sense of my time and quality of what I do and of the people I see, and then of myself and those people around me, my friends and family. But yeah, it's reaching for people. Delegation is very, very hard. We were talking about this just before, but I don't struggle giving someone a task. What I struggle with is when I've given them that task, hoping they do it how I want it done, thinking that I could have just, in the time that I probably taught them or told them to do it, I could have done half of it and then I've done it how I want it. It's not that I'm like, I don't want to give away this task. It's just like this time thing in my head. But when you have someone that is helping, and, you know, I've got an incredible admin girl. She's just the epitome of strength. I've had 2 admin girls, both incredible women. And one of them, she's just gone on maternity leave. Jess, she's gorgeous. And Keegan now, who's, you know, an incredibly beautiful and strong, classy woman with 2 beautiful girls that she's raising after going through her own adversity. And you just see her killing it, and it's amazing. And we're a team. So, you know, I know that I can always rely on her to help me. And it's all the little things. Alice, you haven't drank water today. I filled up your water bottle and put it in front of your eyes. It's that they're always 2 steps ahead of me. And that's really important. Even if it might not be the business stuff, it's reminding me to actually stick some food in my mouth while I'm washing my hands and eating it from the counter. But yeah, it's also, I love building something. So a hobby to me is building a business. So I don't ever dread working on things. My passion is building and creating a business. I don't love the hands-on. It's where I started. It's what's gotten me to here. But I love building a team. I love, you know, understanding people and seeing how they can be the best versions of themselves. And I love being the boss that I've realized through my experiences that I want to be. Someone that, you know, when they don't tell you how to feel. They provide a space for you to explain it, but then to understand it and then make a plan to improve it. When something is, I guess, not going well, it's approaching that in a way that it challenges me, but approaching it in a way that is constructive, but also understanding why, not just assuming. I love building a team, and that's what I can't wait to do more of, and building a brand. But it's hard doing so much of the clinical. And I find that in Mackay, it is very hard to get allied health professionals. But I'm thinking where I want to take Empower Health. We don't know yet, but I'm thinking where I want to take that is creating a bit of a multidisciplinary health hub. I have a doctor in my clinic now. She's an incredible doctor. What I love about Dr. Kerry, she's a veteran doctor. So we see a lot of veterans. And a lot of the veterans, you know, we're a team. They've been, you know, with me through thick and thin. I've been with them through thick and thin. And having Kerry in there, she's very, you know, she thinks outside the box and she sees the person, and she doesn't see the person for a diagnosis. She sees them from their experiences, where they want to go, and she helps them get there. And she, again, through her own adversities, is just building herself up. And yeah, it's incredible to see. So I love filling my clinic with clinicians like that.
Is the team used in both businesses, in the app and also the?
No, so they're relatively separate in a sense, but obviously A Rehab Diary is integrated into our clients. So when it comes to things like, you know, advertising in clinic or I guess encouraging use and that sort of things, you know, the girls are really great at doing that, and Keegan's great at helping with that. I had a physio. She went through some sort of life changes, and she's now traveling, which is amazing because she always wanted to travel. So that she left this year. So that was an extra sort of, I just haven't been able to find another one since. Like I said, Mackay's really hard for it, but that's why I'm thinking of going into that multidisciplinary. But yeah, at this stage, they're two, from a team's point of view, relatively separate. I do have a lovely lady that works on a lot of A Rehab Diary stuff, just jobs, essentially like my executive assistant. Dia, she's wonderful. So she's incredible. I just give her a list and it just gets done. I'm like, how do you know how to do this? Like sometimes I'm like, just try do this. The next minute, it's just like what I wanted. And I'm like, oh, dear,
a second
Jesus.
brain.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, oh, you're just amazing. And yeah, your reputation, especially in a small town from a clinic, can go like that with the wrong hire, especially in healthcare. And healthcare is, you know, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you can run a business. And no one ever taught me how to run a business or a physio clinic. But I always go back to one thing, and that is if with this decision, is my quality going to be more or less? Is it going to take away from my quality or is it going to add to it?
The stop or go.
Can I maintain? Exactly. Can I maintain my care to my clients is number one. If my care to my client starts going down, that's the basis of my business. If I'm known for giving good quality care and being a good clinician, then it'll build.
Absolutely.
So I guess my plan is Empower Health is building probably at the demand of the clinic is growing. And I think being in Mackay, we just spent a week out on a mine site, or just over a week. So we're, networking and diving into all those different areas. And it's really interesting because not only that, you understand all these different avenues that people deal with mentally as well. And it's this common ground that you can understand and see someone. So Empower Health is definitely building. And I'd love that to kind of, when I say build quick, I definitely don't rush it. I'm not a rushing person in that aspect, but that will be the thing that I'd love to establish, and then off the tools more onto A Rehab Diary, and continue to build that, because I want Empower Health to be a clinic that's of quality. It doesn't bother me how big it gets. I don't mind if it stays small, but it's of quality and it's providing great space, and it's this little well-oiled machine. But A Rehab Diary, the scale of that is where the good behaviors are going to come from globally, long term, and that is the thing that at scale will provide the best outcome for healthcare.
Cool. Right, Jazz, you better
amazing.
deliver the last question.
I feel like there's still so much we
I
could
know.
go. We'll have to have you back in 12 months to see how everything's going.
Yeah,
I'd love to keep up with your
absolutely.
journey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the final question that we ask is, what is your piece of advice that you would give to other founders about moving the needle on their business?
I think it's a lifestyle. It's not a trend. It's not a fad. It's not a I guess a shape that you need to fit into. I think with social media, it's made to look in a certain way, and especially with women, I don't identify myself as a businesswoman. I'm just Alice, and I'm doing my thing. And so don't try and fit into something that you're not, because then your intentions will change. Your purpose of the why that you form your decisions around will start to be altered further from something that you envisioned. And when that starts to happen, you lose your want and your intent to create something amazing, because it'll feel more like this job that you have to do. But I think one big thing is I was told this recently after a big sort of event, and it was, you are nothing without you. So if you don't understand mentally where you're at, how you work, you can't ask those questions, provide that space within your team. You can't build a team of that sort of quality. You can't utilize your brain in ways that are going to, maybe prioritize different people or different jobs at the right time. You'll run yourself into the ground in a way that's not, I'm not going to say not healthy, because I haven't slept very well lately, but because there's a lot of sacrifice that does happen, but to a point where you will have to sacrifice the business side of things. And it's not, it's not always pretty, but it should be a normality. It shouldn't feel like you have to do all these things all the time. It should be just something you naturally implement into your life. And it's know that there's so much that you can learn from it, but you also have to want to do it. So, but I guess from a business standpoint as well is, again, I'm not going to say don't trust people or don't trust it. It's definitely not around that. Just don't be afraid to actually screw up, because it's about building resilience. It's not about winning or losing. It's about building resilience. And if you built resilience, you've won either way. And it just means that when that event then occurs in the future, or if and when something occurs of that magnitude, you have more to gain from it. And like I said, if not, it's that advice that you can give to your future family or kids or whatnot one day. So, that's I think that's a few different pieces of advice in one.
Fantastic advice.
You have been brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Being someone, and I think actually one really good piece of advice too, that I'll quickly just mention is, you're not going to find what you're looking for in a quick 90-day build a business social media situation. Go to real people who have built real businesses. Usually they're of, maybe they're in their 60s.
Maybe they're on
They
this
failed.
podcast.
That's it. They failed. Like, I have some incredible businessmen that I treat. One of my clients, he's in his 80s. He's built his company is that 3 Threes, the Marmite barbecue sauce.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's amazing. He's so cute. He's telling me about his new yacht that he bought. I love it. But no, but you see them now, and he's happy. Not for that reason. He's got a wonderful family. But get experience from real people, real experiences, not just what you see the influence on social media, because I'm not saying there's not value there, but I'm saying get real depth,
Yeah,
get real
absolutely.
realness, not just visual realness.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Alice.
Thank you
Thank you
for
for being
having
so
me.
open with our audience. I'm sure that people got a lot out of that. So could you
Could keep on
let
talking for
people
hours.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, there's still so much to it. So yeah, no, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of
You guys are
course.
wonderful. And
So let
yeah.
everybody know where they can find you.
yeah, so there's, I think it's Alice. Yeah, so we've just recently been doing some changes to social media stuff. So A Rehab Diary is on Instagram. So it's Alice at A Rehab Diary. We're also A Rehab Diary on TikTok and Facebook as well, A Rehab Diary. I have my own podcast show as well. So that is A Rehab Diary, the series. That's where we have education guests, and we also dive into some incredible guest individual stories. That is from, some of my veteran clients who, one of my guys is terminal from stage 4 cancer, but with a brain that would just amaze you, to, I do a bit of work with the Redcliffe Dolphins. So one of the Redcliffe Dolphins, Tom Gilbert, and another one of the NRL boys, Isaiah Tass. He's a really great guy. So yeah, so all different spectrums of people, and a little bit into my diary as well. So it's a really good tool that I use to provide kind of like a library for people that are going through their recovery journeys, to check out different episodes, like different books. But yeah, that one there. And obviously there's A Rehab Diary, which is, we're about to do a big new upgrade. So currently we're down from the App Store. We're still on just like, we're as a web-based now, but we're going to be doing a big new upgrade very, very soon.
That's
so
exciting.
Pop in and yeah, drop in your recommendations on what you'd love to see, features you'd love to see. Feedback from that would be amazing, because it's all about driving that behavior, that really healthy behavior, not just from a medical or a hospital point of view, but from a you point of view.
Absolutely.
And the more that we dive into that, the more tools that you have around that, the stronger we can help somebody. So
Amazing.
Brooke will put all the details below.
wonderful.
Absolutely.
No, thank you guys. It's amazing. You guys are doing incredible. I love this space. It's just wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To help support our continued mission to provide free, best-in-class advice from the world's most compelling business leaders, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an episode. See you on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in to The Business Game. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn to stay connected. A big thank you to our major sponsor, Track for powering today's episode. And join us again on the next episode of The Business Game, a podcast that moves the needle.